So welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about potentially, or what is claimed by the current Chancellor, there is currently no recession going to happen in the UK. And we're going to talk about what that means for the UK, what it potentially could mean for the US, and also how this ties into stocks. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and apologies there was no video yesterday. I was just a bit short on time. I only had time to record one video, and I decided to do the US portfolio review for March 2023, which was on the Patreon. So if you are on the Patreon, make sure you go check that video out. But we'll get stuck on to today's video. So Wednesday was the budget, and the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt came out and announced a few things, as he does. One of them being the energy price cap guarantee being extended for 3 months. Now, obviously, this has been an absolute mess, and I can't believe it took them this long to extend it. You know, so many people calling for this months ago, but eventually they at least attempted to go into the right direction, even though it took them ages to do it. So that was one positive that was out there. Don't know if you saw this. There was actually a midlife MOT announced, which was apprenticeships for adults, which they're called returnerships. So yeah, this was something that was announced, which was a little bit like, okay. As always, there's been some very strange and slow moves from this government, which we've come to expect. We have currently got a government which does allow their MPs to claim for toilet seats. Only in the UK can we have that. But I also didn't know if you saw this, TikTok, it was actually banned on government phones. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I saw this yesterday and it was all over the headlines, and I was like, shouldn't that have already been banned? Like, if this is a government phone that you use for work, why are you allowed to download apps like TikTok on it? Surely if it's a work phone, you shouldn't be having apps like that on your actual phone. I was just absolutely in shock looking at this headline, thinking, surely this makes sense to have been happening over a year ago to you. In fact, it shouldn't happen. You surely should not have entertainment apps on a work government phone. But hey, like we said, we are the country that allows MPs to claim for toilet seats, so it is an absolute mess. Now, I thought it was funny as well that Snapchat shares went up on this news, and also I think the US are tightening down on the TikTok as well. So yeah, anyway, we'll see what happens there. But anyway, getting back to the whole point of the video. Jeremy Hunt, the recession, there's a few things out here that were quite interesting. So the first one was that the UK is going to avoid a recession. Now, this is quite a surprise because, as most of you guys know, everyone has been shouting out that 2023 is going to be a massive recession year. It's going to be the worst recession since 2008. And clearly, this is totally opposite to what a lot of people have been shouting out there, that we are heading for a terrible recession. Now, it is important to say that these can be wrong. So when we've seen from the point of view a few months ago, and a lot of people saying we are heading for a UK recession, and then we've totally gone to the other direction, it can get worse out of nowhere. So these are people just trying to guess the future, and the future is not always clear. But obviously this is a big contrast from where we were a few months ago. Now, if you actually have a look into the GDP growth, so to have an actual recession, we need to have 2 quarters of negative growth. You can see here that Q3 was the quarter where we did have negative growth. Obviously, this was a time where things were looking quite negative with the whole Ukraine situation. Everything was going up in prices. Inflation was going sky high. And in my opinion, if we were actually to have a technical recession, we should be having it now. And obviously, when you look at Q4, the suggestion is that that's not going to be a negative. Well, it isn't a negative quarter. And potentially Q1 could be okay as well. So I think if we were to have a recession, we should have had it by now. So I can 100% agree with the statement that I personally don't think we're going to have a recession. And it's the same on the US as well. When you look at the US, we actually, if you look at Q1 2022, which was when all the Ukraine situation happened, oil went sky high. And if you look at Q2 2022, the US has actually had a technical recession already. People don't focus about this on the US. People keep saying, oh, there's going to be a major recession in 2023, and it's like, nope, the recession has already happened in the US. We are moving out of the recession. And if you look at the US, for example, Q3 was positive, Q4 positive, looks like Q1 will be positive as well. So you can see here, things have to get really south in the US for them to have a recession. So I can understand that. I don't think there's going to be a recession in the US. We have to see a massive decline for them to be. We have to see job losses. We have to see major job losses to have a recession. And that's what I always said. We won't have a major recession until we have job losses. And what has happened? What you look at, the jobs are strong at the moment. So I've always said that we can't have a awake style recession. All these people that are claiming we're going to have a major recession, it can't happen until we have job losses, and they are far from happening. far from happening. It's been increasing a little bit, but still nowhere near what we need to have a recession. So I don't think the US is going to have a recession. I thought the UK potentially could have a light recession, and it's looking more and more like that's not going to happen. So yeah, I think that is probably true. But you never know, things can change very rapidly. It only takes a couple of months, and we can very much turn into a really negative environment. But yeah, this doesn't really surprise me. So all the people that have been shouting out, especially on the YouTube scene, that have been putting, oh, stock market crashes here, the worst stock market crash since 2008, the stock market crash is going to crash in 2023. So shows you, some people generally just like to create a lot of fear out here. Now the second thing that was quite interesting is the OBR forecast to say that inflation in the UK would fall from 10.7% in the final quarter of last year to 2.9% by the end of 2023. I was a little bit like, whoa, that's a very steep forecast. Like, I thought potentially the US maybe could see the twos by the end of the year, but to have the UK in the twos, I was like, no chance. No chance. We are not going to see the 2% range by the end of this year. But clearly, this forecast is suggesting so. Now, the UK tends to lag behind the US. So you can see here for us, inflation peaked in October time and has started moving down, and it's still very high at 10%. You compare that to the US. The US actually peaked in June time and has been rapidly coming down since. So without doubt, more than likely the UK will follow the trend of the US. It's just a little bit behind at the moment. And I thought the US could potentially get to the 2% by the end of the year. And that's really positive because interest rates will be cut, and we'll see a very good economic boom in 2024, which is really exciting. The problem is that you've got to work out is, as if you're a stock market investor, the boom will happen before 2024. People aren't going to get to 2024 and turn around and all of a sudden go, oh look, inflation's down at 2%, the interest rates have been cut. You'll start seeing that priced in a lot earlier than that. So that's why the market is about 6 months future thinking. So the market should really start getting excited by this if we do move to that sort of range a little bit in the future. Now, obviously, I think the US can get there because they're very much battling away with inflation. The UK has only just started. We only just got to that in the last kind of 3 months. So this has a massive way to go down, and I don't think we'll be able to go down that quick, but we'll see what happens. Now, the big thing, obviously, why the UK has been struggling a lot more with inflation is because our energy situation is an absolute mess. Compare that to like the US, for example. The energy situation has been horrible in the UK. It's been really badly handled as well, and that's why we have struggled so much to bring that inflation down. But obviously, this is a very big target, and if that target is achieved, that should actually be really exciting for the UK markets. Now, the thing is actually when you look into the UK markets at the moment, and most of you guys be aware of this, the UK markets has actually been quite weak recently. You can see in the last month it's been having a bit of a downturn, and you might have seen a few UK stocks at the moment that have been brought down quite a bit as well at the moment. So you look at the likes of S4 Capital, for example, a stock that I own, that's been brought down a little bit at the moment. So it seems like there's been a few negative headlines at the moment. Obviously, a lot of that is to do with the whole banking situation at the moment, which I think is massively overblown, and won't be as big as a deal that a lot of people are starting to make out, very similar to the recession fears and the inflation fears and everything like that. So that seems to be causing a little bit of short-term pressure at the moment. But when you look past this little short-term pressure at the moment, and you look at the information that's coming out there, you look at the GDP growth, we are probably going to avoid a recession, which is really positive. You look at the likes of inflation is being dealt with and coming down, and then you factor in the interest rates. Well, if we are going to see 2% inflation by the end of the year, well, interest rates are going to be brought down by the end of the year, and we'll be doing obviously really good. So if anything, in the last few months, all I've done really is get even more and more bullish on the markets. I can't see why you are not bullish on the markets. From where we were in 2022, and the markets were horrible, they were massively beaten down. People were talking about how bad the inflation is going to get, how bad the recession is going to be, and you look at where we are now in 2023, and you're looking and you're thinking, by the end of the year here, we're very well positioned. We're probably going to avoid a recession that everybody was going to talk about, the worst recession since 2008. Inflation's going to be coming down. Stocks are still very low at the moment, and you look at the markets are going to be future thinking. Well, if I'm future thinking in the next kind of 6 months, I'm thinking if we're going to look very good at the moment. And if anything, I look at where the market's at the moment, and I think the markets are in a very good position to have a good rally in the next few months as it realises and catches up that the environment that we're in is actually not a bad environment, and inflation, the main issue, has started to really be dealt with, which is really positive. So yeah, overall, I feel very positive about the situation that we're in right now, and I think a lot of those people that were heavily buying through this situation in the last few months could potentially be very nicely rewarded in the coming few months, because it looks okay. Most of the biggest issues that we've had have been dealt with, so unless something comes out of nowhere, which can always happen, we look to be in a very healthy place right now. So yeah, just thought I'd cover that at the moment because I thought there was some really interesting things out there. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could, smash a like button. If you're new around here, subscribe, and I'll catch you in a bit.